Wait a second. You got it. All right. Got it. They got it. Here you go.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Tony Kinnett. I work for the Northeast Organic Farming Association of New Jersey. I also have, my wife and I have a farm, Martinet Farms in Hillsborough, New Jersey. And I am an alumni of the Somerset County Vocational Technical High School. Although I was not in the culinary department with many of you. And anybody from the ag science with us yet or no? The past two sessions was just the culinary crew, which I've been referring to you all culinary folks as food artists, because really that's what you are, right? It's your job to make food an awesome experience that makes people have a good experience, which leads me to you all as food artists have so much power over the rest of the world, whether you realize it or not yet. There's two things that we need, and that's food and water. And you're making a point of making food be your deal. You know, that's your artistry, your trade, your craft. You've chosen, whether you stick with this path or not, is food. And today we're going to talk a lot about farm to table and all the elements that equals. Before we get further into that, so hopefully everybody's got your chat box open. I am going to be asking for you all to respond and chat along with me. I'm also at some point during our session today, we're going to go outside. You're going to meet some of our egg layers, some of our chickens. I'll walk you through our hoop houses, and we'll see what else happens out there. So I didn't get any response. Is there anyone from ag science? I guess not. This is all, you're all culinary food artists. I'm reading the chat, but I don't see anything. Okay. So let's, yeah, okay. Thank you, Jonathan. Let's talk about farm to table. So farm to table, more and more getting important, getting a lot of popularity, and for good reasons. It's not just that when you as a food artist start getting your ingredients from your local neighbors, from your farm folks, you're also helping to teach the consumers, the people that are eating your stuff. This is an opportunity for you to help teach people where food really comes from. Most people, unfortunately, think food comes from the grocery store. That is not where food comes from. They do not grow, broccoli out back behind aisle 6. Food, whether it's meat, vegetables, mushrooms, cheese, grains, a lot of energy goes into producing those things, and people have forgotten where and how that occurs. We all have the power to plant seeds or raise a small flock of chickens for eggs. It's even in an urban environment, there are ways that you can grow your own food, or at least supplement your own food. Sure, you can't have 100 cow in the city. That's just not going to work. But you can grow mushrooms, you can grow herbs and veggies, whether it's indoor or outdoor, rooftop, community garden space. Or for those of us here in Somerset County, I'm in Western Somerset County. It turns back into farmland real quick. And anyway, so farm to table, the power that you have is not only to give people an awesome experience, but by the recipes and ingredients that you as the food artists choose can actually help save the world, which sounds crazy. And I'm not talking about per se, feeding the hungry in other nations. That's important stuff too, but feeding the people of our neighborhood here in Somerset County, you can change the world. You can help the environment. You can make our place a better place just by creating menus or creating recipes that are more farm to table. And what's cool on your side as someone who's preparing food, you can even charge more in some ways by saying it's farm to table. And what's cool is what I'm about to teach you or highlight to you is that the more that you connect directly with food sources, farmers in the local area, or you know, whatever the food purveyor is, if it's somebody who makes jams, I mean, that's stuff that you can do. The more direct connection you get to the food source, the cheaper it's going to be for you to turn it into a recipe, to turn it into money that you sell at your restaurant or wherever you're working. I'm sure you're all now accustomed to and know that you can call up, there's a bunch of food distributors that you say, hey, I need 20 pounds of this, 10 pounds of this, 5 pounds of that. And they're like, sure, we'll deliver it. A lot of the times you have no idea where that's coming from. You know, unless you specify, you know, you want organic or you specify you want local, that could be coming from any place. So I'm going to stick with tomatoes because we're in New Jersey and obviously it's in the logo here. So does anybody know, when do tomatoes grow? What is the season for tomatoes? So spring, we start planting seeds for sure. But when we start getting the fruit, the stuff that we want to make sauce out of and whatever else we want to do. Yeah, summer, right? So really what I try to tell people is like 4th of July is about when tomatoes start out in the field. And then they'll run until, you know, late September. That's New Jersey's natural time period. Now you can extend that by having a hoop house or a greenhouse. You can start them a little earlier. You might even be able to keep them going a little later. But for the most part, let's just stick with tomatoes in New Jersey, 4th of July to the end of September, right? So that's July, August, September. That's 3 months of the year. That's a quarter of the year that tomatoes grow. But right now, if you called up your distributor and said, hey, I need to buy 20 pounds of tomatoes, they're going to get them to you. But where did those tomatoes come from? Anybody guesses? Where do you think tomatoes come from in March? This is where you're supposed to write in the chat. Yeah. Oh, other places, of course. Yeah. Science labs, gardens. Sure. So specifically places that are in a different climate. Right. So California, Mexico, Florida, places that are already hot and warm. So, okay, that's cool. They grow tomatoes there. But then now, so artificial factories, right? So we'll come back to that in a second. So let's say that we're growing these outdoor only at this time. So they've been grown in California, Mexico, Florida, someplace warm. Now those tomatoes have to get in the car, they get a little help. Somebody puts them in a box, straps them in their little car seats, and they get driven or flown or in a train. They travel to get to us. And then now we're talking about gas, right? And we're talking about what happens the more we burn gas, the more you know, carbon and junk we put in the air. We start affecting the earth in negative ways. So just by choosing local products, just that one step, local products, you are now making a conscious effort to make a healthier earth, a healthier environment, you know, keeping humans alive longer here on earth, which is an awesome thing. And I thank you for that. But let's go back to artificial factory options, right? So tomatoes, I don't necessarily think that they grow in a artificial factory, but what that might translate to me is a greenhouse, right? So here in New Jersey in the winter, sure, you could grow tomatoes if you've got heat and you've got lights and all these things to make a false environment, a synthetic environment. again, come back to, it takes energy, it takes fossil fuels and exhaust and emissions. So if you're not eating with the seasons, if you're not using ingredients that are local in the seasons, then you are making the decision to be like, oh, I'm going to burn some extra junk into the atmosphere and, you know, make the planet not as sustainable of a place. So back to farm to table. Local food, farm to table, is you as the food artist saying, hey, I'm committed to making a better world on every plate. If by making the decision to take ingredients that are local, you are making an environmental impact. You are also supporting your neighborhood, right? So as we saw with COVID, a lot of things really got messed up, not just our mental factors. We all got, you know, and stressed out stuff, but our food supplies were interrupted. We couldn't get things from far away in time. And some things tried coming to us, but they got blocked up someplace because of whatever. So whether you realize this or not, there were certain ingredients that were getting hard to get unless you were only sourcing things locally and you had already created a relationship with your local farms and local food people. It was hard to get stuff. So here in Somerset County, we are like blessed with, this is where food comes from. We have so many different places to get food here. And so where you are as food artists, take advantage of this. You are in one of the, this is the Garden State, right? It's really, people who aren't from New Jersey think New Jersey is like, oh, it's all urban. It's all the stuff that's close to Manhattan. But we know that's not it's not the truth. We've got all those places that are rich and diverse with all sorts of people and great restaurants, but we've also got all these farms and agricultural hubs and areas. So take advantage of that. So farm to table, we know one part, it's environmentally more sound. Another part, you as the food maker, if you're smart and connect with those local people, you're now getting stuff at a better cost because you're getting it direct from the source. You don't have to pay some distributor person a fee to get it to you. But what we're going to now talk about are the magical adjectives of food. So you've all seen Ratatouille, I'm sure, right? Everybody's seen Ratatouille, especially if you're in the food industry. If you haven't, you need to see it. There's a moment, I'm going to ruin this for everybody who hasn't seen this. It's not going to ruin the whole thing, but there's the one main character who's a rat. He's very aware. His taste buds are active. He can eat something and be like, oh, I taste, this is nutty and floral and it tastes a little smoky. And so he's able to add these magical adjectives to explain what he's eating. You as food artists, this is where you really get to sell your stuff. So we're going to use grilled cheese as an example. I use this in the other workshops today, but everybody knows grilled cheese. If you know, the only way you don't like grilled cheese is if you can't eat cheese, right? It's cheese, butter, bread. So here's your standard grilled cheese. Whatever the grilled cheese is, here's its twin, the exact same grilled cheese. This one, I'm just going to say it's a grilled cheese. This one, I'm going to say it's fresh baked bread with a locally sourced smoky cheddar and herb butter, right? They're twin sandwiches, but this one, since I added all those extra magical adjectives, descriptive words, which sandwich are you going to take, right? I mean, it's grilled cheese. I'm going to take either one of them, but the one that's got those magical extra adjectives, the regular one, you could probably sell for $3, $4. But this one, just because you added those extra descriptions of where you got it from, what it is, now you can charge $7 for that one just because you added adjectives. It's not a real ingredient. It's just a word ingredient. Now imagine on those grilled cheeses, which just standard plain old grilled cheese, you start getting creative. Like, all right, how can I take grilled cheese to the next level? So chat box, what are some things that you have added to a grilled cheese or mac and cheese? Yeah, add herbs. Anybody else? What else you got? Tomatoes, yeah, spices, right? Sure, ham. You can add anything to, as long as you can eat cheese, you can add anything to grilled cheese, and suddenly you now have, a whole new thing. Well, sure, protein. It's just like pizza, right? Pizza is it's like a blank canvas. You can yes, add food. Lobster. Oh, you don't have to put that in a direct message. Lobster. That's great stuff. I like lobster mac and cheese. Anyway, pizza is a blank canvas. We all know that. You can add the weirdest, crazy things onto it, and people love exploring and trying these different things. So you, as food artists, a part of your job, right? You want to feed people, right? Of course, everyone wants to eat food, but you want people to have experiences that are extraordinary. It's not just a grilled cheese. You want to give them an experience, something that they've never thought of. You're inventors. You are inventors of taste. So you need to just keep exploring and trying adding different things. Not everything is going to taste good, and you already know that, I'm sure. But you don't know that until you try. And I'm sure there's some combination of things out there that just nobody has stumbled across yet. So keep finding, keep looking for things. Bryce, I applaud you for saying kale. But even though we grow organic vegetables here, for some reason, kale is one of the things, if I eat it, my stomach, it has a hard time digesting. Everybody's got different processes. But kale is nutritious, it's important. And some people can eat it and it's good. It clears and sweeps your insides out. But for some reason, for me, it just gives me cramps. It gives me gas. I could eat beans and cheese all day. Anyway, okay. So, farm to table, Somerset County, you all hopefully can make it out to some of the local farmers markets in our area. So as May comes around, a lot of the farmers markets really start opening up. So the one that I work with is now Duke Farms Market in Hillsborough. Sundays, May to December, that's one farmers market. I think there's still one out in Hunterdon that goes on every Saturday. They're all over Somerset County. There's ones on particular farms. There's ones at event locations. So anyway, back to Duke's. So Duke's Farmers Market has people from all over New Jersey, growers and food producers and makers selling their stuff. Some of those people are the original source of where the food comes from. Some of those people are purveyors that acquire it from other places. But the point is, wherever you are living in the world, if you find a farmer's market, you are going to find the freshest, best quality stuff around. Now, I obviously, organic. I'm a big proponent for organic. Can anybody try to explain what organic is? What do you think organic is? What does it mean in the food sense? Yep, no pesticides or chemicals on the food. And so why would we not want chemicals or pesticides on food? And I'll jump in, so you don't have to answer that. So obviously, one part is for our own health, right? The other part is for the earth, right? So the first people of our continent, the Native Americans, the indigenous folks, a lot of their legacies, one of the stories that they would say is they would make decisions based on 7 generations. So some of you ever seen, there's like a cleaning product company called Seventh Generation. Where that comes from is these people would think, okay, what I do today, how is that going to affect 7 generations down the line, right? So if I use chemicals today in the soil, where are those chemicals going to be down the line? Are they going to still be in the soil? Are they going to keep accumulating and building and eventually destroying the soil? Yeah, you know, and that's a part of what we're seeing now is some of the generations before us were just carelessly using chemicals because they're like, oh, it kills the weeds, it makes things grow better, we can add these extra fertilizers, we get bigger product. But what they're not looking at is how does that affect the soil later down the line, right? So soil, believe it or not, even though soil is made up of like dead debris and, you know, tree parts and poop and whatever the heck it is, it's almost like a living organism. There's bugs in there, there's fungus in there, you know, worms crawling around, eating and pooping it out. And so if your soil is healthy soil, then you better believe there's going to be bugs and funguses and all sorts of activity, biodynamic things living together and creating a strong soil. But when you've used chemicals year after year after year after year, that soil might as well be styrofoam. You know, it doesn't have the nutrients, it doesn't have the healthy things that will make food grow. So then you've got to add fertilizer because you don't have nutrition in the soil for the plant. And then you create this wicked cycle of the earth is no longer able to nutrify and feed its plant babies for us to eat. So organic is really all about building the soil back up, trying to give the soil the opportunity to rebuild and get those little biodynamic creatures and things in there so we can grow healthy food without using chemicals. So that's the earth. Let's come back to ourselves. This is the part where we all sing Baby Shark, right? Do, 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 do. Sorry, now it's stuck in your brains. So imagine we have a little itty bitty fish. See, this is where the baby shark thing comes from. So itty bitty baby fish swimming around and it eats little bits of kelp and bugs and whatever it finds, really, really clean, healthy, good stuff under the water. Then a bigger fish comes, mommy shark, eats the baby shark. I mean, it eats a little fish. And so now that bigger fish is getting its nutrition from eating that little fish, which that little fish was eating nice, healthy, good things. But this bigger fish now is getting its nutrition from eating the little fish. Now this bigger fish swims and finds a place that maybe there were some toxic residues from a, you know, factory up the stream, and it starts eating stuff that's got oil toxic particles in it. And then a bigger fish comes and eats that fish. Now that bigger fish is getting its nutrition from the thing that was eating toxic stuff that ate the other little fish. So that big fish is now building its body. It's, you know, we build our body and our health, right? So that bigger fish is now building itself out of something that ate toxic food. So now that bigger fish is going to have some toxic elements into it. Now, you and I we skip school and go fishing, and we catch that fish and we bring it back to school because we were really just on a class trip. We weren't skipping school, I swear. So we bring that fish back to school and cook it up, and we eat that fish. We are now eating not only what that little fish was eating, and then the fish that ate the little fish that then ate toxic stuff, and then another fish ate that. We are eating all of those things that went to feed the next, and the next. And now we have taken that into our bodies. So what I'm getting at is we are what we eat, right? So if you eat stuff that is raised in a healthy, clean, good manner, then that's what you've eaten. If you're eating stuff that's got trace chemicals and, weird toxic things, then that's what you're making your body out of, is weird toxic things. So eating clean, using clean ingredients is not only is it becoming the popular thing to do for sales points, it's the smarter thing to do for our health and for the environment's health. Okay, so moving on past that, are there any questions before I go any further? Okay, so farm to table is like is telling your clients. So if your clients are the people that are eating, let's say you all have restaurants, or you work at a restaurant or whatever, by having a farm to table option, you are saying that you are trying to make a difference in this world. You are trying to help your community. You are trying to help the earth, and you're trying to help the health of your customers. And if your customers don't recognize and see the value of that, then hopefully soon they'll wake up too and realize, wow, you are trying to make better choices, so I make better choices, so our world is a better place. That makes you awesome, and I love your restaurant. I'm going to come back and tell all my friends, especially since you made that grilled cheese with all the extra adjectives on it, because wow, I've never had a grilled cheese with extra adjectives. Anyhow, so I'm gonna show you just a quick video. Oh, there's a dog behind me. That dog, oh, not this dog over there who just ran away. Errol, come here. Errol, that one. Where are you, lady? Come over here. Oh, you can't see her. So she is on our farm. We grow vegetables, right? So vegetables don't really have a lot of predators. There's a lot of dogs. You're going to see a lot of dogs on our walk. So our vegetables, they're predators, they're pests. One is bugs, right? Sometimes bugs come and try to eat the leaves and do damage. But the biggest one that we have in our vegetable operation are mice. Out in the field mice, farm mice, they live here too. So mice and deer, right? So a lot of times you see farms and they have these big gigantic fence. So those are deer fence to help keep the deer out. But you can't really build a mouse fence. You could put netting up and it might help. But Errol, that dog you just saw, she is a mouse hunter. And I know that sounds a little brutal, but to us, mice are like bank robbers trying to steal our Lucky Charms, trying to steal our veggies. And so Errol's job is to keep the mouse population down. When we go outside, you're going to meet, we have two big white fluffy Great Pyrenees dogs. They kind of look like lion bear dogs. Their job is to protect our chickens. We don't have a deer fence. We have only a 4-foot fence, which I'll tell you about the dog that hunts mice in a second. So the Great Pyrenees, the big white fluffy dogs you'll see in a minute, they scare away all the deer. They scare away coyote. They scare away foxes. They even scare away flying attacks. So chickens, they don't really have a whole lot of defense skills. Don't bring a chicken as your like warrior. They don't. They're chickens. What are you, chicken? So we now have eagles in our area. We've got hawks. We've got really big birds that will fly and try to swoop down and pick up our chickens. But our Pyrenees, these dogs, they're protector dogs, and they're always on the watch. So they see if there's a big bird and they run and bark at the bird and stay away from my chicken friends, which is really cool. So back to the question in the chat, is the dog a special breed that hunts mice? So a few years back, we used to raise sheep for lamb. So we you think about if you have a flock of sheep, you want like a sheep dog, right? You want a herding dog, some kind of dog that helps keep the sheep in line and helps protect them. So we thought we were getting a collie mixed with a shepherd. And instead, as we rescued her, so we really didn't know where she came from, but she looked like, everyone's like, oh, she's a collie shepherd mix. It turns out she's a dingo. A dingo is a wild dog that is an excellent rodent hunter. We had no idea, but we are so glad we got her, because literally, like, her favorite thing in the whole wide world is hunting mice and groundhogs, and it turned out to be a really big blessing, because again, who are the biggest bank robbers of a vegetable operation? Are mice and deer. So anyway, we're going to go outside. I'm going to leave this camera, and I'm going to go to, I have a camera upstairs. We're going to walk outside. So just hang tight for a second, and we will reconvene in one moment. All right, I gotta tie my shoes. So our farm is in Hillsborough, as I was saying, Western Hillsborough. We are as far as farms go, we're a smaller farm. We only are on a 7-acre plot, but our veggie production is really only like 2 acres. Let me go like this. There we go. Okay. Oh, here's one of our dogs. He's hiding. So the dogs at night, they're out protecting, but during the day, they like to sleep. So here, I'm going to switch cameras. This is Charlie. What are you doing? Are you resting? Oh yeah, he's resting. So Charlie he's a Great Pyrenees. He pretty much stays up all night and runs around the farm, making sure there's no predators coming trying to get the chickens. And he's got his nephew is out here somewhere. There's his nephew. Desi, come on. So Charlie's litter mate sister had puppies, and we got one of the puppies. And this is Desi. Hi, Desi. Oh, hi, big boy. Desi's he's not a year yet, so he's still learning what his job is. Here's our hoop houses. We're going to go in there in a minute. So one of my favorite things to grow or to help find and grow are mushrooms. You're going to hear me talk a lot about mushrooms today. So I grow mushrooms on logs. So these are called cribs, they call them, like a baby's crib. So here and back over there, we're going to check those out. Right now it's still a little bit too cold, so we're not really seeing any mushrooms yet. Mushrooms normally won't come out until late March, early April. Some of them even later than that. And in a minute, when I go back inside, I'm gonna show you that we have a mushroom workshop coming up that you can actually sign up and come to and learn a lot more about. Here, ready? So these crib stacks, these logs, I drill a hole, and then I put in, you see there's a little dowel, a little wooden thing that's already been inoculated with mushroom spawn, and then I cover it with wax. And then after a few months, these logs will then get taken over from the inside out and become a place that mushrooms grow, which is a wonderful thing. So is it too windy? Can you guys hear? Is it right? Let's see. Okay. All right. Well, some of y'all have to use your microphone and tell me if it's windy. But the mushrooms, what's cool is New Jersey really has a lot of wild mushrooms that we can forage. I was telling the other classes that I've had days where I've just gone for a walk in the woods and pretty much found $300 on the ground. You know, it's like once you start to learn what to look for and what is safe, because obviously there's a lot of deadly mushrooms. New Jersey has 2 of the deadliest mushrooms, but we've also got a lot of really good culinary tasty stuff. So I've walked in the woods and just found wild foraged mushrooms that I'm able to sell or use in recipes, and it's wonderful. So I'm going to switch my camera. So here we are out with our chickens. He is the boss rooster. We have a few roosters. They all pretty much get along, but as you can tell, we got all sorts of different types of birds. Some farms will have all one variety, so that all their eggs are all the same color, but we like having rainbow eggs. So if you look at this guy's legs, they're kind of whitish yellow. So if he were a lady, his eggs would be like a light brown. Whereas this chicken right here has kind of like a greenish colored, right? So her eggs are actually a little like blue-green color. We're gonna go look and see if there's any in the lay boxes. I think my wife might have already collected. So we gotta knock first. Anybody in there? Oh, look at that. Hey, you got any eggs for us? Can I see if there's any eggs under you? Hey. Oh, she's got one. So I'm actually gonna put it back, because sometimes when there's an egg in there, then they're like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to lay. All right. This one is cool. She's a Transylvania naked neck. That's her genetic. She's so old, she probably doesn't even lay eggs anymore, but she's got a really weird look. She's got no feathers on her neck. All right. Any chicken questions? This is how eggs are fertilized. No chicken questions, huh? Okay. So I'm gonna walk you over to our hoop houses. Does anybody know what the difference between a hoop house and a greenhouse is? How many eggs do we collect daily? Okay. This is actually an interesting one. So chickens, their cycle, they're ladies, right? So they have cycles, their eggs, they release eggs. Human ladies, it's like about once a month. Chicken ladies, it's about once a day. Now, what's interesting is their cycles are regulated by light. So the summer solstice, that's when the day is the longest, we have the most amount of light during a day, that is when their egg production is at the top. Some of them will even have 2 eggs in one day. So we have a flock of about 100 girls. So on the solstice, summer solstice, we'll have about 100 eggs in one day. But come the winter solstice, when we have the longest night of the year, where we have the least amount of daylight, the most amount of darkness, instead of getting 100 eggs from 100 girls, we might only get 20. So right now that we're getting longer days again, the weather's getting nicer, we're probably getting about 40 something a day. So we definitely are on the rise again. And you know, we feed our chickens organic grain, organic feed, and they are moved around our farm throughout the season. So every couple of weeks we move their location so they get fresh grass and fresh bugs. And what's cool is they do a little bit of work for us. So, you know, poop is fertilizer. So chicken poop is really primo good, healthy fertilizer. And they dig up the ground and then poop. So it's like they're preparing the soil and then giving it fertilizer. It's really cool. It's kind of like they're doing work for free in a sense. Anyway, so here we are at our hoop house. So a hoop house does not have a heater system. Usually a greenhouse has heat, and you know, this is really just relying on the sun to warm it up. There we go. And so because it's still so early, we've actually created I call it like a Dexter room, like another plastic room. So you could see this in here. We've made a tent inside of the tent, so it stays just a little bit warmer. We do bring out little space heaters just for right now because it's so cold. And this is what's called a heat mat. So we put the heat mat under the trays. These are tomatoes. There we go. And so these tomatoes, you know, we still have a few months before they get to go outside, but they're getting started now. Looks like we've got some chives growing over here and onions growing over here. Now, so leafy greens, we do a lot of leafy greens here. This is kale. And there's a little bit left of, got some beet greens and some arugula. It's kind of a tricky time right now because it's the end of the winter. There's not a whole lot growing, just whatever survived and whatever we're starting for the next year. Let me come out here. Does anybody on here have gardens or any experience growing anything? No, huh? Well, it's really, you should really, as food artists, Ashley says yes, as food artists, you should really start at least a little herb garden. Start growing some herbs because they really take your whole food stuff up to the next level. And look, oh, there's my wife. She's preparing and working, getting some of the garden beds in the next house ready for seeding. Let's see, what do we got here in the chat? He just pours water. Jonathan just pours water. Mackenzie's got a garden in her backyard. Yeah, it's really, I mean, once you start growing stuff for yourself, it feels good. It's, you know, not only is it cool to eat what you grew, what you helped survive and thrive, it helps reteach us and remind us that all food
is grown. It's not, you don't just buy it. It doesn't just come from a store. It takes a lot of time and energy and weeding and, you know, defense against pests. And you got to think of its nutrition. You know, it takes, there's a lot more to it than people think. People think, you know, you just put seeds in the ground and give it water and sunlight and that's good to go. But that is not the case. All right, so I'm heading back inside and we're gonna switch back. I'm gonna show you some videos. Let's see. I hope this is interesting. I hope this is more interesting than regular school for you guys. Okay. I'm gonna switch to the other camera now, so I'm gonna turn this off. Okay. So, oh, I got to bring the other one away. It's getting feedback. All right. So the organic, let's talk about organic for one more second. Yes, everybody keeps asking, can you play the guitar? Yes, I can play the guitar. There's also a drum set over there, and anyway, but that's not why we're here today. You have to come to the farmers markets on the days that I perform, and then you get to hear the music. But so to be organic, part of why everybody keeps asking, why is organic so expensive? There's two reasons. One is, why are conventionally grown things more affordable? And part of that is because the big industries that make the fertilizers and chemicals literally pay the government to pay farmers subsidies to use their stuff, which is kind of weird that it's like, so these big companies that are, you know, controlling the money ultimately are trying to force their way onto farmers to deplete the natural health of the soil, so they have to use their fertilizer. So it's kind of like they're forcing a situation that we have to become reliant on them. That's not cool. That's really not cool. And so the other part, somebody had in the last class asked about GMOs. On one side, GMO, genetically modified organisms or what have you, they their intentions at first glance seem to be good. It seems like, oh, well, we just want to, you know, with this one seed, instead of growing, you know, one tomato, we want that seed to grow like a super fruit tomato, which will feed more people. Okay, cool. You want to feed more people. But what they're not saying, a lot of the times, the companies that are doing this GMO stuff are also figuring out ways to make the seed that comes from a tomato not be able to grow a tomato. I mean, not like it's going to grow something else, but you would think, you know, you have a fruit or a vegetable or whatever it is, you acquire a seed, you should be able to plant that seed and grow that food, right? That's what a seed is. But a lot of these GMO companies, not only are they trying to make you use their fertilizers to keep your soil healthy, they've now started creating ways that the seeds no longer work. So if you want to grow that tomato, you have to buy it again from them. So it becomes a really weird power play of control. So the reason why I am such an organic, why I stand up for organic, is because I don't want that to happen. I want us to all be able to grow our own food. I think in the case that some other crazy pandemic or something happens, I like knowing that we can just plant seeds and grow our own food. Sure, maybe yours isn't going to come out as good as somebody who's been professionally doing it for a few years, but at least you'll be able to get some food out of the deal, and you're not going to have to go to Monsanto or whoever the big company is and buy their seeds that only work if you spray this chemical. So it's a pretty weird thing. So organic, clean for the earth, for our bodies, and it's also standing up for us to be able to do it on our own, to not have to rely on these big companies that are really just trying to control people. That's not cool. Okay, so in New Jersey, up until this year, the state of New Jersey had a program that would come around and inspect a farm that wanted to be certified organic, and they would inspect and they would read all of your notes and the things you've used to confirm that your stuff is organic. That inspector is almost like a detective, right? That detective shows up to your farm and checks out to make sure that you're doing everything according to the organic standards, and they look around and see, oh, wait a minute, why do you have this chemical here? You're not supposed to use that chemical. That's not organic. And oh, I don't know. And then now you're not going to get certified because they realize maybe you're being tricky. So the inspector's job was to be the detective, bring all that information back to the next person, who's called a reviewer. And the reviewer they're the person who decides, do you get the organic seal or not? So New Jersey had a program in place, but this year, I guess they realized that they didn't have enough people to work, and they didn't have enough funding to do it. So they canceled the program. So right now there's no state of New Jersey inspectors. Same thing happened to New Hampshire, and I believe a few other states. So the people of New Jersey who have organic farms had to go to inspectors in other states. So New York, Pennsylvania, we, fortunately for us, had already been using a company in Massachusetts. So we're fine, we're already certified. But because of this, the USDA and Rutgers and Del Val and a few other universities have come together, and with my help and their help, we've started creating teaching curriculum to teach more inspectors. So I'm telling you this because right now there's not enough inspectors out there. And if you like food and you want a little side hustle, and you might want to go walk around some farms, make contacts with the people that grow the food for you food artists, get the contacts, but you get like $60,000 a year being an organic inspector or reviewer. And so not enough people know this. So I'm sharing that with you now so you can keep that in the back of your brain and do that as a little side hustle. And I'm going to show you some footage of some of the stuff we've been working on. Is everybody doing all right? Anybody lose their mind yet? Or found their mind? Yes, substitute. Number 9, everything's good. Okay, there we go. Screen sharing with sound. Oh, I don't think I told you what to write down yet. These are the things you got to write down. So when your teacher comes back, you know that you've been paying attention. I need you to write down NOFA-NJ.org. That's going to bring you to this website, which talks about the mushroom workshop I was talking about. And these are some of the other workshops we've got coming up. So NOFA-NJ.org. And then this is our farm, martinettefarms.com, MARTENETTE, Martinette Farms, Hillsborough, New Jersey. You see, we are certified non-GMO. And on here, you could find links to get to the Duke's Market. Before we go on, so Martinette Farms, we are organic, non-GMO, but we are also what's called real organic. Recently, they've created a new program because people have figured out how to how to hack the system and pretend, yeah, we're organic. They do just enough to be organic. But what this is, real organic, is we are really committed to being environmental and good. Anyway, so here we go. Back to, I'll bring you to that in a minute. So because I want you all to make $60,000, I'm going to show you this.
Hello, I'm Joyce Ford.
Yeah, and I'm Jim Riddle, and Joyce and I are working together as advisors on a multi-state project in the Northeast. The NOFA is the Northeast Organic Farming Association, and then MOFCA out of Maine, all working together to develop unified inspector training courses. So we're also working with several universities in the region, including Rutgers, and the project is funded by the USDA. They're funding several of these projects around the country, and it's to help train new organic inspectors and people who work as reviewers, which is a critical job in the certification process, and to bring more consistency to how organic certification decisions are made here in the Northeast.
All right, I am going to bring you into something else here. So we had created a cooking show to help teach people how to get more, how to stay connected to the seasons, with what ingredients are in season and what to do with them. So one more thing to write down. So YouTube, you already know how to spell that. YouTube, NOFA-NJ. On that YouTube channel, there's a lot of sciencey, heady stuff, but there's also a lot of recipes. There's a lot of how to can tomatoes, how to do pickles. And so what I'm going to show you is a project we worked on where we traveled to organic farms throughout New Jersey, brought the ingredients to a chef, and she made recipes. So this is just a little trailer. All right, I'm going to show you an episode or part of an episode, just so you kind of get the gist.
Welcome back to Farmtastic CSA Cooking. My name is Tony, and I'll be your host and tour guide as we travel some of New Jersey's certified organic farms, gathering the ingredients of the season and bringing them to our friend Chef Kim of Jammin' Crepes in Princeton, New Jersey. Now, this month's a pretty special time. This is when the growing season really just starts booming and blossoming, growing at such a rate that we can't pick the cucumbers and zucchini fast enough. So we are going to visit a farm called Jeff's Organic Farm, who's got a little extra cool backstory, but an amazing operation right now happening in New Jersey. So let's go check out what they've got going.
I'm Harley. I am co-owner and operator of Jeff's Organic Produce, which is established 2004. We've been here in Cream Ridge on this farm since 2012. And we grow over 100 different kinds of certified organic vegetables in any given season. This is my busy dog, Scout. So Jeff's Organic Produce is actually a second generation farm. My father-in-law, Elid Barsky, is owner of ER and Son Farm, which is one of the oldest certified organic farms in New Jersey. And Ed's really known as one of the forefathers of certified organic farming in the whole country. He started a long time ago in, I think, 1974, And when he's
I'm gonna skip ahead to when we get into here.
Welcome back. If you've joined us in our other 3 sessions, this is our 4th session on cooking with your CSA, featuring Jeff's Organic Produce in Cream Ridge, New Jersey. We have 4 more sessions after this. We're really excited to share with you in all of these sessions just the wonderful produce that's coming off of these organic farms in our fabulous state of New Jersey. Jeff's Organics has a CSA program, and they have a farmer's market on their farm every Wednesday. And they also sell at the West Windsor Community Farmers Market on Saturdays. This is the box, a CSA box this week from Jeff's Organic Produce, and it's beautiful, just brimming with all kinds of summer produce. And I'm going to go through some of these things with you, and then we're going to make some really delicious things. We're going to make a soup and some quick pickles and a couple of great salads. We're going to learn how to roast beets perfectly. Let's get started and just kind of go through these things. In the front here, we have just some beautiful red leaf lettuce. This is some daikon radish here. Beautiful white daikon radish, which is crisp and delicious raw. You just peel that and slice it, grate it, put it in salads. Yum. Also makes a really nice quick pickle. We have some wonderful fresh broccoli. We're going to make a salad with the broccoli today. Really great raw broccoli salad. We have kohlrabi, something a little bit maybe more unusual for people. Delicious. It's a wonderful fresh root that's crunchy, and I'm going to show you what to do with that. The green.
So you get the gist. You can watch that and a bunch of others in their entirety on the YouTube channel. But the goal is to reconnect people to what is growing, what's right here. As I said, walking in the woods, having a $300 day, just looking down and finding ingredients, finding not just ingredients, but really good, delicious. There's one of my favorites that comes up in late June. They're called chanterelle mushrooms. And chanterelle mushrooms are like a orangey, it almost looks like a trumpet that's pointing upwards. Super delicious mushroom. But whenever you go mushroom foraging, the first thing you should do is look up poisonous lookalikes, because even with chanterelles, this beautiful, delicious, awesome, only comes out for 2 weeks, 3 weeks of the year, it has a poisonous lookalike called the jack-o'-lantern, which sounds, it could be scary sounding, Halloween, jack-o'-lantern. What's dangerous is obviously if you mix that up and you as a food artist serve somebody jack-o'-lantern mushroom sauce, their stomach is going to have a horrible time. Jack-o'-lanterns I don't think will necessarily kill you, but you'll wish you were dead. Whereas we have one of the mushrooms we have in New Jersey, the angel of death. Obviously don't eat that one. That is a solid white mushroom. And allegedly they say it's the best tasting mushroom you'll ever eat, but you'll only be alive for a little while longer. It really, mushrooms are amazing. They can do so much medicinal good. They can do so much taste culinary good, but if you're not careful, they can do a whole lot of bad. So I guess it's kind of like, I'm sure you've heard about, there's different sushis that if you don't do it just right, you just killed somebody. So, but it's cool. This is a part of what's going to help make you all stand out as food artists, is the more you start to learn about these different specialty ingredients, the more, special your craft is, and the more delicious it's going to be, in my opinion. Anybody have any questions or things they want to know about food related stuff? that. Not so much, huh? Should I show you one more video? Do you want to see a video about some more? Yes, food stuff. All right, let's see what we've got here. Since you are all foodies, I'm going to try to keep it about the food. No questions. Ashley's got no questions. What instruments do I play? That's a good question, right? Guitar, bass, banjo, mandolin, drums, and I sing. And I'm sure you all know my crazy mother, Janet. She's the lady with the big curly white puffy hair. That's my mom. She works at your school. So when I went to Votech, I was actually performing arts and graphic arts, but I always ate. Okay, let's try this guy right here. I guess not. I'm going to give you one more of our food. How many dogs on the farm? There's 4. My brother brings over his dog, and so there's a 5th sometimes, but all right, let's see. I don't know where I saved these. This is not good. Let's go like this. This might be our first one of the season.
All right, well, welcome back to another episode of Farmtastic CSA Cooking. My name is Tony, and I'll be your host and tour guide as we travel some of New Jersey's certified organic farms, collecting the ingredients of the season and bringing them to our friend Chef Kim of Jam and Crepes in Princeton, New Jersey. Now this month, we're going to visit Genesis Farms way up in North Jersey, and we're gonna see what awesome stuff they've got to give to Chef Kim. So let's go check them out.
Hi, my name is Mike Bakke. They call me the head gardener here at the CSG at Genesis Farm, which is located in Blairstown, New Jersey. We are solely a CSA. We have about 300 plus members, families that are with us during the summer season, and we also have a winter distribution that runs from first week of December through the last week of April. We do 15 acres of diversified vegetables. We have a small orchard, apples and pears, some pawpaw. We started back in 88. So I believe we were the first CSA in project in Jersey, and one of the first in the country, actually. And I'm proud that we've been able to keep this going for so long. And the reason that is, I think, is because we have a strong community that really has bought into this whole idea, and people care about it. And so while I'm part of the growing staff, we have a bunch of other people, our board and other members that do an awful lot of work to keep this experiment going.
Back to the stuff that you guys need to see.
Hi, welcome back to Farmtastic CSA Cooking. We're here at the Jam and Crepes Kitchen in Princeton, New Jersey, and I'm Kim, proud NOFA board member, and thanks so much for joining us for actually our fall episode of Farmtastic Cooking. And we have this beautiful assortment of fall produce from Genesis Farm in Blairstown, New Jersey. And it's really quite really an interesting assortment, some fun things. So when I looked at this array, and we're going to go through it, I was inspired to do a few things that we're going to prepare today, some nice recipes, but some lovely, nice potatoes, freshly dug potatoes, you can see, with the earth on them still. We'll get those washed up to make that would make a great soup. They also have some fresh leeks have come. Maybe a leek and potato soup would be lovely. Nice head of red lettuce. Radicchio, beautiful head of radicchio. That would be delicious grilled, brushed with a little olive oil, split and grilled, or just in your salad. Radicchio has a nice bitter flavor to it. Some fresh broccoli, nice little baby carrots. There's a great assortment of fall veggies in here that I would really be inspired to make a nice vegetable soup. Just do that with all this lovely stuff. Some eggplant, a big assortment of peppers, sweet and hot. And we're gonna throw a bunch of those in the oven in a second, get them roasting. Some nice, these apples, they're not pretty, but they're so yummy and crisp that it really inspired me to share with you today one of our first recipes that we prepared for the restaurant when we opened in 2011, actually, out at the West Windsor Farmers Market. And it's a spiced apple filling that's going to remind you of a really good apple pie and something that I think you'll enjoy preparing. It's a great time of year in New Jersey for local apples, and there's so many delicious varieties. You're going to love this recipe. There's some nice seasoning, some cutting celery, and some broccoli rabe leaves, and some collard greens, a lot of great soup ingredients, lots of fresh produce. We also winter squash. It's that time of year, and there's so many different varieties. This is a lovely little type of winter squash. I'm going to show you how to pickle. You can use that, a nice fresh quick pickle. You know us, we love our pickles. So we're going to start out right now. When you have peppers, there's so many different types of peppers this time of year. These are some nice long, I think these are going to be really sweet peppers. In general, rule of thumb, the smaller the pepper, the hotter it is. I think that's going to be a nice little cayenne pepper. And we have some others. We're going to arrange them. You don't do anything. This is our favorite way to do peppers. Just chuck them on a sheet pan in the oven. I've got a 400-degree oven going. That's what you want to do. Some of the smaller ones we'll take out earlier, but we're going to throw them in whole, and we're just going to roast them until the skins blacken and they just collapse, and then you'll see what we can do with them. We're going to actually put them in a sauce today, but it's a great way of preserving them. You can put them in olive oil when they're done, and keep them in the fridge and use them for lots of different things. So we'll pop these in, and then we'll get started on something else.
You know, I'm standing in front of our little flock of chickens. These are layers, and you know, we introduced the layers into the rotation, you know, probably 7-8 years ago, and they're grazing actually on red clover that was frost seeded into some grains back in the spring. And then I took off it was rye, actually rye berries. So I took the rye off in the summer, and the beautiful thing is then you have a whole cover crop ready to go. And that's the red clover that's shooting up now. It particularly likes the cool temperatures, and the chickens absolutely go crazy over it. So, you know, win-win-win for everybody.
We have this nice winter squash. One of our favorite things to do at Jam and Crepes is to pickle things as a nice way of preserving them. We're going to make a nice quick pickle with this squash. So just want to make sure that you've got a really firm grip on, and the good thing is that this type of winter squash and this time of year, the skins generally aren't that tough. But if you do find, here's a nice little tip, if you do find that you're feeling uncomfortable because the skin is a little bit too tough when you go to cut it with your knife, make sure you have a good sharp knife, first of all. Hold it very steady. You can actually put the whole squash in the oven first, you know, like a 375 oven, and just, you don't want to bake it, but you just long enough to soften up the exterior skin. It works really well, so try that if you're feeling like you don't have a handle on that, because sometimes the skin can be really tough. So we are now just scooping out the seeds here. I'm going to set those aside. If you want to kind of put those in a colander and rinse them off and get rid of the membrane and have the little seeds, and toast those with a little olive oil, salt, and pepper, maybe some spices too, some garlic powder, paprika. You can make some seasoned squash seeds, can be a nice snack. But we are going to cut this up into little pieces and put it in our ball jar with a brine to pickle it. Now, what happens is we want little bits, just kind of like little bits like this. And you'll see that once they're pickled, the brine we're going to use has some nice spices in it, a little peppery, with the peppercorns and a hot pepper flakes, some mustard seed, and some bay. And then once they're pickled, it's really nice to sprinkle on a fall salad. If you have another type of squash that you want to do, like a butternut, you can also cut ribbons. But I'm going to show you. This is really just kind of get little pieces, dice it up. We've got on the stove behind me, we have a pot of brine cooking right now. Okay, so we're gonna put some little dice of our winter squash in here. And what's so nice is there's so much delicious nutrients in this, beta carotene and good things for you, that it's really, actually it's really nice raw. You don't usually think about winter squash as raw. And this is really just pickled, so it really is raw, barely cooked, with a warm brine on top. You get all those yummy nutrients. So we're putting some dice in there. Now I want to show you another way to do it with something like a butternut squash that you might have. I'm going to put this nice pepper, fresh pepper in there. That's going to give us a little heat too. Take a nice sharp vegetable peeler and get off your kind of the skin first. This works really well, this method, on a butternut because it is smooth. It doesn't have the ridged finish like this, like the acorn and the sweet dumpling and things. And it has a nice long neck, so you can get some cool ribbons like this of the squash and put those into your jar. And when you have these ribbons that you do of the squash, that just looks really cool once it's pickled, to add on salads or on a charcuterie platter or something like that. So we'll get some more of this going. Got to have a nice sharp vegetable peeler. Get some nice ribbons of the squash and pop them in your jar. How beautiful the color of that squash is, right? So you want to just keep going, get your jar filled up, and we're going to put some peppercorns in there, whole peppercorns, a little more heat, some mustard seed, and a couple of bay leaves. Stick some bay leaves in here, all right? Okay, and I'll get some more of this because I want a full jar since I'm doing this. Get some of this going here. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's get these in here. Nice. All right. So next step is the brine, which is on the stove, just warmed up with its 50-50 cider vinegar and water, with a tablespoon of sugar and 3/4 teaspoon of salt. And all we're doing here is warming it on the stove. You don't need to boil it, you just want it to be hot. So that when we pour it over, we get a nice infusion of the flavor of all of those herbs and spices into your squash. And you can see we put that nice fresh pepper, cayenne pepper from the farm in there too. If you don't like things hot, you don't have to do that, but it's really nice to have the kick, I think, if you like that. So, and we're gonna just put a lid on it. Guess what? It's done. Put that little piece in there. You could let it cool first a little bit, right? But then ultimately you're putting a lid on it and you're putting that in the refrigerator. And this is gonna be delicious by tomorrow. So it's a quick pickle, super easy, super delicious, pretty. You'll enjoy that. And serve it on salads, on a charcuterie platter, or just like in a grilled cheese sandwich with pickles inside. So yummy. So we're gonna move over to doing something with our apples next.
All right, so there's just a little teaser of what we've got going on. So go check it out, the YouTube channel, NOFA-NJ. And really, if you look at it in a seasonal succession, you can kind of get a head up on everybody else, because we pretty much laid it out there. These are the ingredients that come out in New Jersey at this time. You know, go check out the one that we released in August. Read that one in July, so then when August comes around, you already know how to get your recipes together for what's coming next. So it's really it's great that you guys are all cooking and food artists, and I hope that you all succeed and make some super delicious stuff. And I hope that I get to come to the school to trade winds and get to try some of it out. All right, well, have a wonderful day. I hope you have a great week, and I hope we meet you at the Duke Farms Market. Have a great day.